And here we go, the beginning of the end of 2024. Let's go ahead and wrap up 2024 with the month of December. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back, another monthly wrap up, this time for December of 2024. What a year that it was. It's been fun going through a lot of this kind of end of the year content. Now, a few more things to wrap it up, and then we can be full speed ahead for 2025. I remember when I was younger, 2025 seemed like this mythical fairy tale, but hey, here we are, and things are interesting. They really, really are. Let's go ahead and begin like usual. Talk about what I read in the month of December. I read 3.5 books and 1 manga. Now, one of those books was so monstrous that I feel like I should have counted about 3 here. So a pretty good output, honestly, for the month of December, especially since I started on one of my January reads, and I'm quite a good chunk through that one already. So The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell. That was one that was for 𝕠𝕠𝕤𝕤𝕤, picked by Dr. Philip Chase. He didn't go to medical school, guys, to be called Mr. Philip Chase, but a great pick. We all did really enjoy that one. We did a full-on conversation for that over on Brian's channel if you want to hear that conversation, both spoiler-free and spoilers. But if you've watched the Last Kingdom television series, I think you'll be safe all the way around. Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson, a complete miracle that I read this book in 15 days. And that's just a good combination of insomnia and having some time off of work for the holidays here. But a very fun return to the Cosmere. I did say before I read this book, it was probably going to be kind of the end for me with Stormlight, as this is kind of the closing off of one arc. After I read it, I felt good about that decision. I'll get into it more when I do review the book here in January. But the thing with me was it's starting to feel kind of like I've got to watch the Disney Plus TV shows to understand what's going on in the MCU. It's kind of how it's starting to feel. You have to read all of the Cosmere books to understand what's going on in Stormlight Archive. So it feels like if that isn't something that you're wanting to do, it might be an opportunity, I think, to make a clean break with it. Still think Brandon Sanderson is an amazing author, and he has one of the best minds going out there. The book for me was really, really good, but it might not have been quite the grand slam that I was hoping for. Lost Man's Lane, kind of similar. This one's by Scott Carson. I think when you get a lot of comparisons to Robert McCammon and Stephen King, that's going to raise the expectations a little bit. But I still went into this with lowered expectations. I obviously, coming of age when you're dealing with someone that was my age in the 1990s, that Marshall is in this book, that was something that connected with me quite a bit. The supernatural elements started really cool, got a little goofier as the story went along. And like I said, I feel like it was one of those where that wasn't the strength of the book. The strength of the book was the friendships that Marshall made. You have one character in there, it's almost like Stifler from American Pie, but somehow it works. Because I felt like if you were with the high school in the 90s, we all kind of knew that guy. And Marshall does befriend a character like that. The girl next door themes that might have been done many times before, but it's still one of those I think is relatable to everyone. You have that friend that you grew up with, and one day you're like, maybe those feelings are more than just friendship. So I feel like those things he did a lot better than the actual supernatural part of the book, but still a very great read and a very good foundation for me to say I'll be definitely reading more of Scott Carson in the future. One Piece, Volume 28 by Oda Sensei. Obviously, this is one with Skypiea that I've kind of been stalled out here for a while. Did try to hit, will admit that I was going to be one book shy on my goal for Goodreads for the year. So I said, what can I read that's not too terribly long? And One Piece was what kind of filled it up. So, hey, we all kind of cut corners once in a while. But 55 books in the year of 2024. I like that pretty good number because if you watch my top 10 video, you know that I had a tough time this year picking 10 because it was just a really, really awesome year. And then I started, like I said, one of my January reads. I'm still going to count it towards January because I didn't finish it. I say I'm about the 3/4 mark of The Thousandfold Thought by R. Scott Baker. It's the last book in Prince of Nothing. So it'll be ineligible for Book of the Month here for December. I will still count that towards January. But it was a big, big chunk. Again, that's just a combination of time off. And I just got through Wind and Truth much faster than I expected to. And then the other 2 books, Lost Man's Lane and Last Kingdom, weren't terribly long. If you're a fantasy fan, 300, 350 pages, it's just not that long. And you can kind of zip through them really, really quick. But it is that time, guys, to pick my book of the month for December. My end table's broke, so I've got to reach a little further for my coffee here to make it a little compelling for you. So I think just about everyone read Wind and Truth in the month of December, and it's making a lot of people's book of the month. It's making their top 10 list. It's making some people's disappointed list. For me, it was kind of somewhere in the middle. It was like, it was one that like, I'm not going to say it was a disappointment. I'm not going to say it was one of my top books. It was just kind of in the middle. So if you had asked me before the month started, yeah, Wind and Truth is probably without a doubt going to be the book of the month. But somehow that did not happen. Now, if you've watched my top 10 books of the year video, you can probably use your sleuthing skills to discover that it was The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell. Now, obviously this had a little bit of an advantage. I read the Warlord Chronicles and I loved it. And I watched the TV show Last Kingdom and I loved it as well. So I think what this had going for it, I'm going to have to really fix this end table situation here. What this had going for it, I already knew the characters. I already knew I loved those characters. I already know that I like Bernard Cornwell's style of writing. He writes two characters fighting in the circle better than anyone, even over Joe Abercrombie, who I thought was the best at it. And I gotta say, Bernard's just a little bit better. Now, they're both great, don't get me wrong, but I'm gonna say that's the highest compliment I think I can give someone, is Joe is one of my favorite authors of all time. And Bernard Cornwell is really, really quick getting there. I feel like it's him and Ken Follett are kind of like hanging out at the same table right now as my favorite historical fiction authors, and they hopefully it doesn't end in a duel, because I want to read everything these guys have written. This was awesome, and it was so much better, I think, than the TV show, the first season. The first season does books 1 and 2, but the parts of this that it adapts this is kind of a slower burn with Ughtred. You see him as a preteen. You see him very much as a younger man, much, much longer in this. A TV show, he was, a preteen for about 15 minutes, With this, by the end of the book, he's still only a teenager. So this is really, really an awesome, awesome read. If you're into coming-of-age stories, if you're into Viking culture, if you're into the whole, real-world history of Alfred the Great, because you're seeing Alfred the Great through Uhtred's eyes, and I think that's just a compelling way to tell the histories. Now, with this, I always say, it's not a spoiler, guys. I can go ahead and tell you, England won, I mean, England's a thing here. But with this, that doesn't matter. This gives you the opportunity to learn about the way that things were between those two warring nations at the time, and it gives you an idea of what life was like for a young man going through very, very confusing times, obviously. His found family or his real family or what. He has no idea what's going on. So he's a very conflicted character, and Uhtred's just awesome. He's an awesome character, I think, to follow. But again, seeing the historical fiction part of it, we can go through it and look at it and say, hey, I want to learn about these real histories. And that's when you find yourself, looking through Wikipedia and getting sucked into a 2-hour documentary on YouTube about some of the things they talk about in these. But again, with me, guys, it's a slam dunk. You give me coming of age, you give me Vikings, I'm all in. This is something that I'm very, very much into. That's why I love Vikings, the TV show. That's why I love Vinland Saga. It's something that is a very easy home run for me. And the fact that we have not real, historical documents from the Viking side of it. History is told by the winners. It gives it a little bit of wiggle room for you not to be able to say, oh, it didn't happen that way, because it's all hearsay about the sons of Ragnar Lothbrok and stuff. You see these things through many, many variations through all these different retellings of Viking culture and stuff. But I did this, man. This was amazing. This was fantastic. And I knew I was going to like it. I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did. So honestly, for me, this month, it wasn't close. This was one of my top 10 books of the year. And this was definitely the book of the month for December. And I recommend you pick it up. If you've been, I don't know, about historical fiction, I think this would be a very, very fun place for fantasy fans to start, because it's got lots of fantasy-style elements. Just take away the dragons, the prophecies, guys, and I think you'll really, really dig a lot of what he does in here. And Bernard Cornwell, 4 for 4 for me here so far. The winner of the Warlord Chronicles, all home runs. This one right there with it. I cannot wait to continue with this series. I'm thinking this is going to kind of be my new Dresden Files, where when I've read something heavy and I need a quick little break, or I've got 3 days before a new month starts, I think I'll be picking up some Saxon stories here, because Uhtred, son of Uhtred, it's a really, really good place, I think, for anyone to start. And I think he's just an amazing character. I can't wait to see what Mr. Cornwell does with him. Let's go ahead and look at some of my most popular content for the month. Now, obviously, when you're dealing with a lot of year-end stuff, you're going to get a lot more traffic than usual. It's really, really cool for content creators. Don't be wrong. I get it if the content watchers got a little tired of it. But it's fun, I think, to kind of reflect upon the year and look at these things. And clearly, it was something that a lot of people were interested in. So 15 new videos this month, one short content. I think that was just a clip of my Thoughts on the Devils by Joe Abercrombie, and of course one live stream that I did the last day of the New Year's Eve. I did that one on New Year's Eve. That was a good time, I think, was had by all. But let's look at the five most popular here. Obviously, my top 10 books of 2024. That's always one of my biggest videos of the year. As of this recording, it's sitting at 22,000 views. So thank you for everyone who tuned to that. I hope that you guys understand that it's very, very hard to pick a list like that. And for all the people like, I can't believe you don't have Disquiet Gods on here, or you don't have Navigator's Children by Tad Williams on here. It's like, I haven't read them, man. I can't put them on my top 10 of the year if I haven't read them. So a list like that, it's always, obviously what you've read in that year. But it was a very, very tough year for me because any of the top 5 this year could have been number 1 any other year. That's how good of a year it was. So I read less, but I definitely think it was very much quality over quantity in 2024 because so many great books. There's so many books that I had to leave off the top 10 that I was just like, I can't believe that I had to leave this book off because it's fun. Like Ordinary Grace didn't make my top 10. And it was without a doubt one of my favorite books this year. So just shows you what a great, great year it is. And that's awesome. It's awesome that I had a harder time picking my top 10 than my worst 10. That's obviously something that you can look back on and say, 2024, what a great reading year. And I hope you guys do like the 10 that I picked there. And I hope you'll pick some of them up if you have not. I know a lot of people have gotten more interest in Shogun and Blackwater and Prince of Nothing. I keep wanting to call it King Nothing because it's a Metallica song. Prince of Nothing. I think that it's not going to be a series for everyone, but again, I hope it's putting some eyes on some of these things that people thought they might not ever check out. Ranking the new series that I started in 2024. And started 16 new series in 2024, and it's just fun to kind of look at, which ones were hits for me, which ones maybe not so much, which ones I'll be continuing with, which ones probably won't be picking up again. That one's at 17,000 views here. And the thing is, like, I usually just list these, but people really want me to rank that and rank my top 10. So I make sure that I rank those. I did not rank my most disappointing books of 2024. That's at 16,000 views. And that's one of those I try to tell people, I don't put worst books that I read for a reason because I think these are all great authors. Sometimes, I've got one of my top 10 authors of all time on that list, by the way. And the thing is, like, sometimes a book just lets you down. It has nothing to do with how it's written. It has nothing to do with the author or anything like that. Just sometimes you have a different set of expectations. And like I said, I use the word disappointed because it's a me thing. It's not the author. The author did nothing wrong. It's just sometimes we do admittedly go into some of these things with a different set of expectations or something that we're hoping or wanting, and we don't get it, and we feel let down by it. And that's what that list is for me. Definitely in no way of saying that those are badly written books, because it's not. All those authors that I mentioned in that video are spectacular, and I hope you'll read them and figure that out for yourself. Don't ever take my word for it. Biggest failures of 2024, 12,000 views as of this video here. That one is just kind of, I do a biggest surprises and biggest failures. Now, I think it's one of those things. I don't think it's a problem to look back at something that you did during the year and say, hey, I could have done that better. Maybe I'll do that differently going forward. And a reflection's good, guys. It helps you not make the same mistakes twice. And we are just humans at the end of all this. And it's one of those you take a look back and say, look, real life don't stop just because of this. And you make some mistakes sometimes. And I got a lot of comments, a lot of people reaching out to me after that video did release, just to give me words of encouragement. And I mean, it was viewers, it was other content creators. I even had publishers and some authors reach out to me to give me some words of encouragement. And I do appreciate that you guys do care enough to do that. The fact that people took that much time out of their day just to write me a special note or something, really, I appreciate it. It really does mean a ton to me. What I want to see / think will happen in Wind and Truth, that video has 12,000 views, and here's a spoiler for you guys. I was wrong. I was wrong on pretty much all of it. But hey, it's fun to kind of look at those things and think about it. I'm not the deep diver like some of the other Stormlight fans out there. For me, it was just like, here's some things that I've always had on my mind while reading Stormlight Archive, and it's what I was hoping to see, or what I thought might actually happen. And I didn't get very much right. But hey, that's fun to look back on and think about. And it was fun to the waiting that we had 4 years between books 4 and 5. There's lots of things that I think we had time to theory craft upon a little bit, and that's why I made that video. And yeah, like I said, it might not age well, but it's always kind of fun to go back and look at it and say, well, yeah, it's a good thing you're not writing this, It's a couple of my favorites that didn't quite make this list. Some of my favorites, I think the end of the year live stream I did, I had some people show up. All the members of the Illuminati showed up. Obviously, Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads, John Douglas, a self-published author I hope you guys will check out, and Chris Verrocchio popped in for a while, and that was really cool. It was just one of those things where I always try to do just like an end-of-the-year live stream. Just kind of just shoot the shit, invite some people on if they want to come on. And thankfully, we're introverts, and not all of us had a lot of plans for New Year's Eve, you know. And that seems to be the book reader way. But them taking time to join me on such short notice, I really do appreciate that. And all you guys that tuned in, it was fun for me. I've kind of made that like a tradition now, New Year's Eve during the afternoon time, just to kind of have a end of the year live stream and a little bit of an AMA, just kind of like a fun conversation with some other creators. It's always something I try to find time for. Also, I think the counterpart to that failures video, which of course was biggest surprises, that was a little more positive, you know, kind of looking at some books that really just blew me away that I wasn't expecting, or maybe some ones that, you know, it was kind of a shock that I didn't like them more than I did, as well as, you know, some things that I did on the channel that really helped me out, that really made some things a big surprise, lack of a better word, really. So I think that's a pretty self-explanatory what that video is about. But again, I lean towards the positive here on this channel, and I like to spread a positive vibe. And I think that video has a much more positive vibe, obviously, than the failures do. But again, I like to look at criticism and say, how do I get better? Always be getting better, man. That is the Business School 101 there. So a couple of goals, I think, as we go forward here in January for 2025. I'd just like to get a good jump on my new goal of 5 books a month, because I'd averaged about 4 books a month in 2024. I think I'd like to get back up to 5 because there's so much I want to read. So maybe chill out with reading like 2 or 3 chonkers in a row and kind of burn yourself out a little bit. Hopefully I don't have a massive book hangover again like I did after Shogun in 2024, and I think that can help me get to that goal. I've already got a big jump on my first book for January, and so hopefully that'll make it a little easier to slide into this new goal I do have here. And I think that's going to take place by what I said last year, less time on social media. I think we all do it. We all do it, and I'd gotten really good at it. And then just NFL season, I completely broke all my own rules and just I could not get off of Twitter or watching all the NFL stuff. And so, I mean, it's going to happen from time to time. I think we all do that. But it's when it becomes a repetitive pattern. And you're like, you know, I should really be reading, but I'm just going to scroll this for a little bit. So you scroll, you doom scroll, man. How do you get more time for reading? Right there. Don't doom scroll social media. But, you know, sometimes it's easier said than done. And we can all fall in that trap, you know. But that's something I think will help me get back to getting my goals for each month of 5 books. Tackling some of these new series, I'm really excited about some of the new series that I picked out this year. I'm going to be starting the Rise of the Ranger, which is the Echo Saga, here as soon as I finish Thousandfold Thought, and that's something I'm very excited about. But there are numerous series. Alex Veras, I'm going to be starting. I'm going to be starting the Dandelion Dynasties. All these new series I'm going to be picking up in 2025. I'm just thrilled to just be picking some of these up for the first time. And you know, the anticipation is killing me a little bit, especially since so many people are starting already with Rise of the Ranger and talking about it. I'm like, ah, la, 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 you know, so I'll be there very soon, and that's going to be just kick-ass time. I can't wait for it. And I think I'd like to make it a goal to collaborate with some creators I've never collaborated with before. I did have a couple of people on the channel for the first time this year, had some repeat guests and stuff like that. I think we all get like that security blanket. You know, you become really close with some other content creators, and you know, you want to collaborate with them over and over again. And I don't regret doing any of that, but I would like to grow that network a little bit, you know, talk to some new people. I think I'll be talking to Gavin here pretty soon. That should be a good time. We had planned to do it earlier in the year, but he was actually moving, so it didn't work out. But we are talking about getting together here in January and doing something. So news on that when it happens. I don't know if that'll be a Stephen King vid or if that'll be a Talk About Nothing. I don't know, but just people like that I've never actually had on the channel before. I'd like to get some more folks on the channel outside of spooky season. You know, I think that would be a really good idea. But guys, that was the month of December, wrapping up another great year here on the channel. Be doing my year-end wrap-up here pretty soon, and then it's ready just to go all in on 2025, and I am anxious to do so. So guys, what was your book of the month for December? I would love to know. If it's Wind and Truth, hey, man, that's awesome. I'm glad that it ticked all those boxes for you. If you didn't check out any of these, I hope you will. I hope you'll join me for some reading new series and stuff in 2025. It's going to be a blast, guys. It's going to be just awesome. So drop in the comments, guys, and let me know, and I will talk to you later.